And welcome to the Just in Time podcast. I'm your host, Justin Shooten. This is episode 21 for y'all today. We've got a ton of college football to break down with conference championships on the week. The college football playoffs are looming right around the corner. And also, we got some NBA updates with teams across the league. So y'all stay tuned. And I just want to take a second to thank everybody who's been supporting me up to this point. For all the new listeners out there, the Just in Time podcast is a sports podcast hosted by me, Justin Shute. And I talk about a various amount of sports topics, really emphasizing basketball and football. Y'all be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends that need some college football knowledge and insight ahead of college football championship week. So, as always, shout out to my producer and editor of the show, Mary Shute. She's a real one for getting this edited and pushed out as fast as possible in time ahead of the college football championship games. With that out of the way, let's get a quick sponsorship out. Shout out to 4K the Barber. Shout out to High Jump Party Rentals and 4K the Barber. High quality party bounces and party packages available along with an up and coming barber service. You can reach out to either or at 210-438-3366. And Chris and Eric will take care of y'all. Need a haircut, need a party bounce, there are people to go to. You can hit up Chris Sneed for a haircut or a party bounce, and he's going to take care of y'all with A+ hospitality. The cool weather is approaching, and you can still have fun outside with the bounces for the kiddos. And also, Chris is a barber. It's going to leave you 100% satisfied. He is my go-to barber from now on. He always hooks me up right with the mustache trim, eyebrows, fade, whatever you need, he's got it. So y'all be sure to hit up 4K the Barber and High Jump Party Rentals. And again, you can hit them up at 210-438-3366. Now we're going to move on to some college football. We've had some huge college football happen the final few weeks of the regular season, but ultimately the teams at the top held on to the position, and the only big team to lose out of the top was Ohio State. The Buckeyes lost to Michigan by 6 last week. So as of right now, the college football playoff rankings stand at number 1, Georgia, number 2, Michigan, number 3, Washington, number 4, Florida State, number 5, Oregon, number 6, Ohio State, number 7, Texas, and number 8, Alabama. Now, I'm a Texas fan, so there might be a tad bit of bias, but I believe Texas's resume is severely underrated to the committee. We have 3 top 25 wins against Alabama at home, which is probably the most impressive win all season, versus Kansas and versus Kansas State. If they defeat Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship, that'll be 4 wins against top 25 opponents. For those who believe Alabama should be in the playoff, you cannot have Alabama in the 4-team playoff if you do not have Texas in above them. There's no way. Texas defeated Alabama at Bryant-Denny Stadium in week 2 of the college football season, and you have to honor and respect that game's result when talking about the playoff results and rankings. They penalized Texas at number 7 for the one loss they suffered on a neutral field versus Oklahoma by 4 points, who was undefeated at the time when we played them. It hurts Texas because Oklahoma has fallen off a cliff since then, and they couldn't take care of business on their end and win out the rest of their season as they dropped games to Oklahoma State and Kansas in back-to-back weeks of conference play. Oklahoma finished the year 10-2, just missing out on the Big 12 championship due to Oklahoma State getting the nod since they won the head-to-head matchup. So I believe the committee can't leave out Texas if Texas manages to win the Big 12 championship. Selfishly, they would be 12-1 with the conference title, and if all the undefeated teams won the championship games and remain undefeated, I can understand just based off that reasoning alone that they would all get the nod in the playoff. But I think that strength of schedule needs to be a bigger factor when it comes to ranking these teams, and unfortunately, it hasn't been because you got Michigan sitting at the top, undefeated, number 2 in the nation. And outside of Penn State and Ohio State, the rest of their schedule is cupcake. And, you're the college football playoff committee. You're telling teams you need to, play the toughest out of conference opponents as possible. And Texas does that. They play Alabama, and they managed to go to Alabama and win, something that, very few teams have been able to do. And instead of rewarding them, you're punishing them because you're putting them at number 7. You got Ohio State at 6. Ohio State, who just lost to Michigan. And, Ohio State, they played Penn State. They beat them earlier in the season. But, the other big team that they played was Notre Dame. And, I just think Texas' schedule and the resume is stronger than at least Ohio State. So I think there's some things wrong with the committee, to say the least. But, if the undefeated teams won their championship games and remain undefeated, you'd be looking at a college football playoff consisting of number 1, Georgia, number 2, Michigan, number 3, Washington, and number 4, Florida State. I do not think it'll be that way. I'm about to break down the conference championship games and give away how I think the games will go this weekend. And we're going to start it all off with the Pac-12 championship. Number 5, Oregon versus number 3, Washington on tomorrow, Friday, December 1st in Las Vegas. For the finale of the Pac-12, we're getting a rematch of one of the best games we saw this college football season. We've got the number 5 Oregon Ducks, who have 1 loss and 1 Heisman hopeful, versus the number 3 Washington Huskies, who have no losses and another Heisman hopeful on their side at quarterback. Both of these teams are phenomenal when it comes to talent, and the story will be all about the quarterback battle coming from the 2 Heisman frontrunners, Oregon Ducks quarterback Bo Nix versus Washington Huskies quarterback Michael Penix Jr. Both those guys have had phenomenal seasons. If you had to ask me to pick one winner right now, I wouldn't know who to give it to because they both have had great years. I think, honestly, quarterback from LSU, Jaden Daniels, has outperformed both of them as far as, talent running the football and also talent passing it. But, a big part of the Heisman race is your team record and how, you do with team success. So it's no question as to why both of those guys are at the top of the list for the Heisman, because both those teams are 2 of the top teams in the nation, one of them being undefeated in Washington, and they're both lined up to, compete for the conference title and hopefully for a college football playoff spot. So we'll see. But the Washington Huskies remain undefeated. The Huskies defeated the Ducks earlier this season, 36-33. Both quarterbacks had a great game that day, and both teams played amazing football. But a failed tying field goal from the Ducks cost them the game, and Washington came out on top. I believe that the Ducks will defeat Washington on Friday night and win the Pac-12 championship and get revenge. Both teams are phenomenal talents on both ends. I just trust Oregon's defense a little bit more, and I believe that Dan Lanning's play calling will be more assertive and less risky than last time's result. I think that Oregon has been trending upwards in the recent victories, while Washington has been in the opposite direction. First upset of the conference championship week, I got the Ducks beating the Huskies on Friday night to kick off an exciting weekend of upsets. So for my pick, I got Oregon winning the Pac-12 in its finale, and in its finality of a conference. There we go. Now we're going to move on to the Big 12 championship. Number 18 Oklahoma State versus number 7 Texas on December 2nd at AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas, at Jerry World. This game kicks off at 11 a.m. I believe in Central Time. This is one last ride for the Longhorns in the Big 12. The Texas Longhorns went 11-1 on the regular season and are looking to play Oklahoma State in the title game. And Oklahoma State went 9-3 in the regular season. Oklahoma State is led by running back Ollie Gordon, who leads the nation in rushing yards this season. Gordon is a very talented running back, and he will be the clear emphasis of this Cowboys offense. Unfortunately for Oklahoma State, though, Texas's run defense is the best in the conference and one of the best in the nation. Texas came off a huge Texas Tech victory last week, winning 57-7. Despite Jonathan Brooks going down versus TCU, running back Cedric Baxter and Jaden Blue have both stepped up in his place and have recorded 100-plus yards games on the ground. I think that Texas, they're just better from a talent standpoint, to say the least. And I got Texas defeating Oklahoma State and winning the Big 12 championship. Texas is favored by 15.5, and Texas will take care of business on Saturday and solidify their resume of being in the playoffs with the conference title. So for that pick, I got Texas winning the Big 12, and we're going to move on with a sponsorship shout out to Clutterbug Organizing. Do you feel like you're drowning in clutter? Are you constantly searching for things you know you have, but you can't seem to find? Well, Clutterbug Organizing by Jamie can help you get organized with small, manageable steps that will make a big difference in your daily life. You can check out their socials link below and book the consultation by filling out the interest form on their website. And you can get 10% off your first package by putting the Just in Time podcast in the message box. And also, I'll be sure to link everything, their interest form, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and their website linked in the description of the video. Moving on, we got the SEC Championship, number 1 Georgia versus number 8 Alabama on December 2nd in Atlanta at 3 p.m. Central Time. This matchup right here might as well be a call to playoff game. It's got 2 playoff caliber teams with amazingly talented rosters. When these two teams match up against each other, we always get some classic games. Most notably, I remember the 2-0 to Devontae Smith for the win for the championship in 2018. Flash forward to current day. We've got number 1 Georgia, who hasn't lost a game in 2 years, versus the number 8 Alabama Crimson Tide, who went undefeated in conference play. Alabama's only loss was to Texas, who was an out-of-conference opponent, and Texas is in position to make the playoff on their own resume. So, nonetheless, both these teams are 2 of the best in the nation, and we get to watch that on Saturday afternoon. Georgia has a very, very good football team. Quarterback Carson Beck has looked sharp all year, and he's looking to lean on star tight end Brock Bowers, and I expect both to be very influential with their performances on Saturday. Alabama's led by quarterback Jalen Moreau, who's coming off some of his best ball. He's finally settled in, and he looks comfortable at that quarterback spot and has taken his team to new heights with this combination of the ground game where he can also be a problem with his legs. But, you can't just focus on that because he's a pretty good quarterback to win the ball too. Alabama's one of the best teams in the nation when it comes to big playability, getting plays above 15, 20 yards to the air. Man, I got to tell you, this Georgia team is going to have to find a way to slow down Moreau and his legs and his scrambling ability. You're going to have to negate that from him. You're going to have to make him beat you by throwing the football. Georgia has been good all year. They've beaten good teams like Ole Miss and Missouri and Tennessee. Alabama has, at the beginning of the year, they looked rough. They lost to Texas at home. You win in an ugly fashion versus South Florida or South Alabama or something like that. But then they pick it up. From there on out in the conference play, they go undefeated. And I feel like if Alabama, this game is going to be close no matter how you slice it up. And if Alabama can find a way to win this game, how do you leave them out? How do you leave the SEC champion out of the playoff if they went undefeated in conference play and you beat Georgia, who was undefeated for like 2 years? So, I'm going to take Bama to win this one. I know Georgia's a very good football team. This game could go either way. It can go Georgia winning, and I wouldn't be very surprised. But I think Alabama's got what it takes to win. They've been a very different team these past few weeks, and I'm going to go with Alabama winning the SEC, and that's going to be a fun discussion for the playoff committee to figure out, who gets in and whatnot. But yeah, Alabama winning the SEC, and if you throw Alabama in the playoff, you cannot have them in there without Texas being in there as well. Moving on, we got the Big Ten Championship. We got number 2 Michigan versus number 16 Iowa on December 2nd, 7 p.m. Number 2 Michigan is coming off a 30-24 win over their rival Ohio State. Michigan went undefeated during the regular season, and they took care of business, winning against quality opponents in Penn State and Ohio State. I doubted Michigan a lot this year, and they proved me wrong, winning each week. They've got a great team with great leaders and a quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, and running back Blake Corum. And, this team has, faced a lot of adversity, to say the least, this entire season with their head coach, getting suspended the last 3 games of the season. And I believe he was suspended the first game or something like that, too. So, nonetheless, they've dealt with a lot of adversity. And they got a great roster. They got a great championship caliber roster looking to, finally win a college football playoff game and win the college football playoff national title. So we'll see how that plays out. Iowa remains one of the best defenses in college football. However, I don't see them upsetting Michigan by any means here. The over-under for this game is at 33 or 35.5, and Michigan's favored by 22 points. So everybody's kind of figuring this game to be a blowout. So I would be very surprised to see if Iowa managed to make this a close game or to find a way to, pull Michigan's leg and pull off a crazy upset. But I don't see that happening. I think Michigan's gonna, move on. They're gonna win the Big Ten. They're gonna move on to the playoff, and they'll face off a quality opponent then. So I got Michigan winning the Big Ten. And last but not least, for the the main Power 5 conferences, we got ACC championship. We got the number 14 Louisville Cardinals versus the number 4 Florida State Seminoles at 7 p.m. also. We've got a great matchup here for the ACC championship. The 10-2 Louisville Cardinals versus the 12-0 Florida State Seminoles. Unfortunately for Florida State, star quarterback Jordan Travis, who led the Seminoles all season, suffered a season-ending injury versus North Alabama in week 11. And, in the final week of the college football regular season, FSU had to rely on backup quarterback Tate Rodemaker to get past the Florida Gators, and they just edged them out 24-15. Now, speedy recovery for Jordan Travis. I hope, his career at Florida State is finished, but, hoping he'll find success in the NFL because he's a great talent. And, despite his age, I do see him getting picked up by an NFL team somehow. But focusing on the ACC championship matchup, you're going to rely on backup quarterback Tate Rodemaker. He didn't look very solid versus Florida. And now they're going to have to play Louisville, who's had a pretty good year. I don't know how this is going to go. Louisville quarterback Jack Plummer and the Louisville Cardinals are coming off a loss to Kentucky last week, but, they look strong all year. Florida State has looked like a playoff contender all year, but, without Jordan Travis, they just don't look, they look like a different team. Nonetheless, if Florida State remains undefeated and they win the ACC championship, it's going to be very hard to leave them out of the playoff. And, you got a perfect resume, 13-0, you beat quality teams, and you won the conference championship. How do you leave a team like that out of the 14 playoffs? So, but, Louisville's a pretty competent team too. They beat Miami, they beat Duke, and they beat Notre Dame in the regular season. So I believe that this game can go either way. But I will have Louisville shocking the nation and beating the Florida State Seminoles and winning the ACC championship. So for that pick right there, I got Louisville winning the ACC. So to wrap up how I expect those 5 matchups to go, I got Louisville beating Florida State and winning the ACC. I got Michigan beating Iowa, winning the Big Ten. I got Alabama beating Georgia, winning the SEC. I got Texas beating Oklahoma State, winning the Big 12. And I got Oregon beating Washington, winning the Pac-12. It's going to be a crazy, exciting slate of games, and I'm looking forward to it. And we're going to give a quick shout out to the sponsor, LoveLee Creations by Jen. LoveLee Creations by Jen creates beautiful, one-of-a-kind wreaths and arrangements for all seasons. Unique design using old lassos, antlers, antique containers, repurposed wood, and more. Owner and creator Jennifer McFall loves to create custom orders. You can let her bring your vision to life or create a beautiful and unique gift for someone special. You can follow LoveLee Creations by Jen on Facebook and Instagram to see all of our items and what's available for purchase. If you mention the Just in Time podcast, you will receive $10 off any purchase or custom order. Shipping and local delivery is available on all purchases. Y'all be sure to use that Just in Time podcast code, please. And it's not only for just the LoveLee Creations by Jen, it's also for Clutterbug Organizing. Please welcome friends and family into your home with an inviting wreath or add a pretty arrangement to your dining table created by LoveLee Creations by Jen. So shout out to the sponsor of the video, LoveLee Creations by Jen. We're going to move on to some NBA basketball. I'm going to give y'all some, conference, rankings updates at this point in time. It's Thursday, 11:30, the last day of November, and I currently got the Cavaliers and Blazers game on. It's going to be the first game tipping off tonight, but I'm going to give y'all the rankings how it is right now before this game and all the games tonight take place. Take a quick water break real quick. All right. For the Eastern Conference, We have Boston at number 1 at 14-4. We have the Orlando Magic at 13-5. We have the Milwaukee Bucks at 13-5. We have the Philadelphia 76ers at 12-6. We have the New York Knicks at 10-7. We have the Indiana Pacers at 9-7. We have the Miami Heat at 10-8. The Cleveland Cavaliers at 10-8. The Brooklyn Nets at 9-8. The Toronto Raptors at 9-10. The Atlanta Hawks at 8-9. The Charlotte Hornets at 5-11. The Chicago Bulls at 5-14. The Washington Wizards at 3-15. And the Detroit Pistons at 2-16. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about these teams coming up. Let's first start off at the top of the conference with the Boston Celtics. I had them as being the number 1 team at my preseason rankings, and they're living up to the hype, man. They're the best team in the NBA, as I fully believe in. I think they got just a championship-winning core there. You managed to keep Derek White. You add Drew Holiday, who's looked phenomenal for him. You got Jason Tatum playing MVP caliber basketball. Jaylen Brown's looking really good. Kristaps Porzingis has had a lot of good games. Al Horford. And you got some young guys stepping up in there. So, yeah, I mean, I like the Boston Celtics a lot. You know, their ranking at number 1 seems more than justifiable. Number 2, the Orlando Magic at 13-5. This is a huge shock to me. I thought that they were going to have a good year, a good progression from stars like Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner. But you're seeing other players take a jump too. Like Jalen Suggs has had a big year on the defensive side of the ball. And the Orlando Magic completely have just changed their identity to a defensive first team. And, rookie Anthony Black has looked phenomenal. So the Orlando Magic being number 2 in the East as of right now, 13-5, is crazy. I'm excited for Orlando fans. This is an exciting team to say the least. At number 3, you get the Milwaukee Bucks at 13-5, and Milwaukee's still kind of trying to figure things out with Damian Lillard and Giannis Antetokounmpo. But nonetheless, that's a core that you can't underestimate. Once Chris Middleton's going to be playing full minutes for them, it's going to look like a way better team. Shout out to Marjon Beauchamp. He's had a great year so far on the defensive end. He's looking like a bright star for the Bucks. And every year people say the same thing about Brook Lopez, thinking he's going to age and not be the same player, but he's still finding a way to make an impact on that team. So Milwaukee in 3rd place right now. It's a good spot. Philadelphia 76ers at 12-6. They're 4th in the Eastern Conference standings as of right now. And shout out to Tyrese Maxey, man. He's been balling out this year. Joel Embiid's, looked like the same MVP level caliber player. And that's a team filled with 3D guys around them. They've all had, great wins so far. And so, yeah, I'm happy for the 76ers. I hope they continue the success down the regular season. And I hope they can, push that for the playoffs because, it's all about seeing the stars in the playoffs. And I want to see Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey go pretty far. At number 5, the New York Knicks are 10-7. The Knicks have, played some phenomenal basketball this year with the defensive side of the basketball. RJ Barrett's taking a little bit of a jump. Jalen Brunson continues to be excellent. And as long as they continue to play better, they're gonna keep being one of those teams you can't leave out. The Indiana Pacers at number 6 at 9-7. Tyrese Halliburton below. Man, this Indiana Pacers team is like the 2007 Phoenix Suns, where they're just like 7 seconds of basketball. They're just running off all across the court. They average a lot of points, average a lot of assists. And it's fun basketball to watch. Number 7, the Miami Heat. Jaime Jaquez, the rookie, has looked phenomenal for them. Outside of Wemby and outside of Chet, I believe he is one of the best rookies of this class. And, Bam's looked really good all year. So, shout out to Miami for having a pretty good, regular season record so far. At 8, the Cleveland Cavaliers are 10-8. And, they've had some – I'm watching them right now. They've had some trouble battling injuries this year. In and out of the lineup. So Darius Garland trying to get him healthy. Jared Allen getting him integrated into the lineup and, getting the comfortability of all of them together. Max Strus has been solid for him all year. Mobley and Mitchell really honing it down for him. But, this Cavs team is really good. So, I don't see them missing the playoffs. I think they're too talented of a team to miss the playoffs. At 9, the Brooklyn Nets are 9-8. And, Brooklyn has had some really good games this year where Mikal Bridges has looked really good. And they've also had some games where they looked really mediocre. And you can tell that, there's still pieces that's missing to them. But, shout out to Ben Simmons. He's finally looked way better as a player. And, that's just something you like to see because, these past few years, he's been battling injuries and, his lack of progression with the jump shot has really, really had him face criticism from other fans because he's a former number one overall pick. And he hasn't played like that by any means. But, that's just the reality of expectations and stuff when you're, playing at the highest level and you're number one pick. Fans expect certain things of you. And, when you shine in the beginning years of your career and then all of a sudden you don't play like that, suddenly it just, raises some questions and concerns. And unfortunately, fans have not been very fair in that matter. So, Number 10, the Toronto Raptors are 9-10. And, shout out to Scotty Barnes because he's been like one of my locks this year as far as sports betting with like his points, rebound, and assist prop. He always manages to come through with that. If it's at like 28 to 31.5 PRA, I'm going to take it because he's going to find a way to get it. But Scotty Barnes has been huge for him this year. Pascal Siakam remains amazing, but you got to find, with Toronto, you're 10th right now. Atlanta's right behind them at 8-9. What are you going to do with Pascal Siakam? Is he still the future with this core that you got going on with Scotty Barnes and OG? Just a lot of questions for Toronto. I don't know if Pascal's going to continue to be on that team past the trade deadline, but we'll see. Atlanta 11, 8-9. They have had some trouble with Trae Young getting comfortable with shooting the basketball at the beginning part of this year. But, they're finally getting it turned around. They play San Antonio tonight. And it's just that's sad on its own, San Antonio record. But, I think Atlanta's, they've had really good seasons so far from DeJounte Murray and from Jalen Johnson. And, we'll see what they do with Clint Capella if they're going to keep on keeping him. And what they do with Trae Young, how he does, shooting ball. He's been pretty good these last few games, but we'll see if his numbers get up there. Charlotte at 12 with a 5-11 record. LaMelo Ball, I think he just injured his ankle, so that really hurts the team. I like what I see out of Brandon Miller. He looks really comfortable, actually. I got Gordon Hayward on my fantasy team, and he's been giving me like 30 points every game. So I mean that's not too bad. Miles Bridges came back, and he looks pretty good for him. Terry Rozier, not so much. This Charlotte team isn't great by any means, and they're not going to contend for the play-in or the playoff conversation, I don't think. 13, Chicago is 5-14, and it's sad because you got all these stars. Like, you got Zach LaVine on that team. You got DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic, and they just can't win, dude. I believe Zach LaVine is looking for a trade, and the Bulls are shopping Caruso and DeRozan. And I've heard that the Lakers are interested in Caruso and DeRozan more than LaVine, so we'll see where that goes. But yeah, the Bulls are 5-14. I think their plan is to probably just move off of those star guys like DeRozan, Caruso, and LaVine, and just start the rebuilding process. At 14, Washington Wizards are 3-15 on the year. You expected Jordan Poole to be bigger, and he was very underwhelming to start the season off. He's had a few games this year where he's gone for 20 plus, but nonetheless, this is Kyle Kuzma's team. Kyle Kuzma's been playing very solid basketball for him, and Benny Diaz had some pretty good games, and I liked rookie Bilal Coulibaly. He's had some pretty good defensive moments for him, but Washington is still one of the worst teams in the league, and they were never going to compete for the playoffs this year. They're focused on the future. And at the bottom of the Eastern Conference, we got the Detroit Pistons at 2-16. Something I didn't expect was kind of the mismanagement of some of these guys on the team. Like to start the year off, Monty Williams was not playing Jaden Ivey for some reason. Jaden Ivey was one of the top first-round picks last year, and he was a pretty good player and looked to be someone you would play at the off-guard spot with Cade Cunningham, and that wasn't the case to start off the year. I'm not yawning because the bottom teams are boring to talk about. That is not it. I am just super tired. College student over here. But Detroit, you start off the year playing Killian Hayes over Jaden Ivey, and that's something I didn't agree with. And now you're 2-16. Cade Cunningham remains probably the only bright spot of that team. Also, Thompson has looked very good for him, despite that jumper and his inefficiency to shoot the basketball. Detroit needs more shooting. Jalen Duren's come back from injury, so that's good. You finally have someone dependable right there for him. But, yeah, that's the Eastern Conference right now. Most exciting jump has been Orlando. Like to see Indiana jump up there. The team I've been wrong on the most, I think, is probably Detroit. I think I had Detroit at like 10 or something like that in my rankings, or 11 or something like that. But they're at 15. And, yeah, the Eastern Conference was kind of easier to predict than the Western Conference. Shout out to Axis Archery. They're a full-service bow shop and archery range for Bastrop County and the surrounding areas. They have a 100-yard outdoor range and a monthly 3D shooting events throughout the summer for fun and realistic practice for bow season, all hosted and put on by the owner, Blake McFall. If you are interested, you can give him a call at 512-629-2113, and you can be sure to visit his website at www.axisarchery.com. I'm terrible at shooting with a bow, and being coached by Blake on just a few adjustments, I was hitting the targets perfectly. So you can too. Make it a priority and visit Axis Archery today. And I know that new Hunger Games movie came out, The Ballads of Songbirds and Snakes. 10 out of 10, go watch it. I'm a huge Hunger Games fan. My girlfriend is a huge Hunger Games fan as well. So, yeah. I'm no Katniss Everdeen with it for sure, but a few lessons from Blake, and he'll turn you into Katniss Everdeen, to say the least. Moving on to the Western Conference standings as of 11:30 today's date. We got Minnesota number 1 at 13-4. Denver Nuggets are ranked 2nd at 13-6. Dallas Mavericks at 3rd at 11-6. The Oklahoma City Thunder with a record of 11-6. The Phoenix Suns with a record of 11-7 at 5. At 6, we got Sacramento Kings at 10-7. At 7, we got the Lakers at 11-8. At 8, we got the New Orleans Pelicans at 10-9. At 9, we got the Houston Rockets at 8-9. At 10, we got the Los Angeles Clippers at 8-9. At 11, we got the Golden State Warriors at 8-10. At 12, we got the Utah Jazz at 6-12. At 13, we got the Portland Trailblazers at 5-12. At 14, we got the Memphis Grizzlies at 4-13. And at 15, we got my San Antonio Spurs at 3-14. I'm going to start from bottom up this time to make it more interesting. Talking about the Spurs start off, man, it's been a rough stretch to the season. After the beginning part where they beat Phoenix back-to-back times at home. They just gone on a terrible stretch of games where they haven't been winning anything. They get out to these leads where they're up by like 15, 20 points. And then, their youth shows as they're the youngest team in the league with an average age of 22, and they've managed to blow those leads. And it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. It's part of the learning process. Whenever Victor Wembanyama's out on the court, he is by far the best player for the Spurs and the best rookie in the class. I think he should be number 1 for all the Rookie of the Year races. But, I understand the Chet hype. We'll get to Chet when we talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder at 4. Nonetheless, I still think the Spurs, they're just missing a lot. They're still missing a few pieces on that team. You want the progression of Sohan to be a little bit better. Him at point guard has been a lot of controversy for Spurs fans. They'd rather see Trey Jones start at the point guard spot, but, my argument on that is even if you start Trey Jones, what are the pros and cons that he gives you compared to Sohan? Spurs are not in any means to be competing for the playoffs this season, just based off the record right here and the average age of this team. Their focus should be on, progressing those young players and getting them, more better, more talented, getting them reps. Sohan at the point guard spot might not be the point guard of the future, but you're giving him the ball handling opportunities, the playmaking opportunities to be good and, to be more advanced when he makes his move back up to the small forward or power forward position in the future. So, Spurs are 3-14. Don't see them competing for the playoffs. And, I will be, tuning into more college basketball and studying up on this 2024 NBA draft because we're probably going to be looking to have a top 5 pick, it looks like. So, At 14, the Memphis Grizzlies are 4-13. And, the lack of Ja Morant really just hurts this team. And, you brought in Marcus Smart, but, that loss of Dylan Brooks really hurts that team. And, Steven Adams being hurt also hurts that team bad, too. You see JJJ kind of picking it up now, but nonetheless, they're 4-13. They're really looking forward to Christmas Day when they get Ja Morant back. So, we'll see if Ja Morant can turn this team around from number 14 in the conference to potentially in the play-in. At 13, the Portland Trailblazers are 5-12. And I would say the biggest bright spot on that team has been Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant has been playing great basketball this year for him. Someone that, had a great contract. Well, not great, but, good for him as far as contract extension. He got paid from Portland this past season. But then they just moved off of Damian Lillard. So now, his role on the team doesn't look so clear. But, Ayton looks very good for him. He's been getting a lot of rebounds, high rebound games from Ayton. Scoot Henderson, unfortunately, he was the second overall pick for him, has not looked strong for the Portland Trail Blazers, and he's had his rough patches. But, when you're a guard, a young guard coming into this league, it's supposed to be difficult. You're supposed to, figure out the pace of the game, get comfortable with it and stuff like that. So I expect, bigs to come in and translate to the game way easier than guards would. So the struggles from Scoot are understandable. I just didn't think it would be this bad or this noticeable because he was so good in the G League. And so, the Jazz are at 6-12. They are 12th in the conference, and Walker Kessler really does impact that team. And shout out to Keontae George, one of the rookies I like the most from this past cycle. And I was very high on. He's shown some tremendous games throughout this year. And Lauri Markkanen continues to be a bright spot for the Jazz. But, they're at 6-12. Taylor Hendricks hasn't played for them. And that was their highest drafted rookie, I believe, from this past year. So we'll see. And a team I did not anticipate being at number 11. The Golden State Warriors at 8-10. Curry in and out of the lineup. Draymond out for disciplinary reasons. This Golden State Warriors team has been a mess. Klay Thompson has not been hitting his shots. Andrew Wiggins definitely hasn't been hitting his shots. This team has been, I don't know what to say about the Warriors. As long as Steph Curry's on the court, they have a chance to win. But, they got to really think about their future moving on from guys like Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, and potential Draymond Green. What does a Golden State Warriors team look like without those guys? I'm not sure. They're probably the type to stay with them and just fight throughout the regular season because they're at a number 11 right now. They're 8-10. They're just like a game or two outside of the play-in. They can still compete for this, so they're not out of it yet. It's just a little concerning to see a team with, championship caliber players just not perform to that kind of level. At 10, the Los Angeles Clippers are 8-9, and, LA finally looks to get going with the Harden trade. All four of the starters look really good. Harden has had some pretty good games, most notably against the Kings the other night. He had like 26 points with like 9 or 10 assists. So shout out to Harden on that one. Kawhi Leonard's been playing great ball this year. And so has Paul George. So pretty cool to see the Clippers in at number 10 at 8-9. The Houston Rockets are 8-9, and they're 9th in the conference right now. And talk about that Dude, Alperen Şengün has been one of my favorite players to watch this year. Baby Jokic, as I like to call him, he's just been everything for the Rockets. He is their best player, in my opinion. Jalen Green has had some ups and downs this year with his games. Dylan Brooks has looked really good for him. Overall, this Rockets team is strong with the veteran leadership. And we'll see if they continue to make this push for the playoffs with the playing spot for sure. But they've been an exciting team to watch. They knocked off the Nuggets one game, so that was cool to watch. At 8, the Pelicans are 10-9, and they remain one of the best defensive teams in the league. Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram have been pretty good for him. Zion has had some great games this past year. I think he just came off his best game of the season. And Dyson Daniels has been really strong for him on the defensive side of the ball. CJ McCollum is out for a while with collapsed lung, I believe. But nonetheless, the Pelicans look strong, 10-9, something I didn't expect to see from them. So shout out to the Pelicans. At 7, the Los Angeles Lakers at 11-8. A lot of good things to say about this Lakers team. Anthony Davis has had a great year. You hope that his health continues to be this good. LeBron has had some great games despite being 40, the oldest player in the NBA. Shout out to LeBron. Otherwise, they are looking for trades. I know they are, because Austin Reeves has kind of been a little bit underwhelming this year. And, D'Lo, I don't know. This team is basically LeBron and AD, and they're looking to upgrade whenever they can upgrade. So, yeah. Sacramento is ranked 6th in the conference at 10-7. Sacramento has looked really strong. De'Aaron Fox just came back from his little injury. And, since he came back, they've finally been winning games like crazy. Sabonis has been keeping it, down for him. And Sabonis continues to be a main engine of the offense. Herter's been looking really good. I've been waiting to see Keegan Murray take a jump, but we'll see if he ever turns into like an all-star type of player. But yeah, I like the Kings. I think there are some moves to be made for them. They want to acquire some more talent at the deadline or something like that. So we'll see. At 5, the Phoenix Suns are 11-7. The Phoenix Suns have looked really good this year. I don't think they've yet to have Beal, Booker, and KD out all on the court at the same time, but Booker took a massive jump this year. His playmaking and shot-making abilities on another level. Kevin Durant has looked solid all year long. I think he's been the most consistent player. I don't think he's missed a game, or he's missed very few games this year. So shout out to the Suns. But Spurs beat y'all twice, and I love my Spurs. At number 4, the Oklahoma City Thunder are 11-6. And OKC has been dealing with some issues recently off the court with the Josh Giddey situation. And I don't know what that situation is going to look like, but if the allegations are true, then I don't believe that Josh Giddey should have the right to be in the National Basketball Association. Nonetheless, moving away from that negative light, the Oklahoma City Thunder are a great basketball team. They're 11-6, 4th in the conference. They look really good so far. Chet Holmgren has played amazing basketball as a rookie. Technically, he's a second-year player, but this is his first playing, so he's considered a rookie in the Rookie of the Year awards, at least. Shai Gilgeous has looked amazing for him, MVP candidate right there. J-Dub has looked really good. Lou Dort. But, yeah, OKC looks strong, a team that can knock off some of these teams at the top with their depth and talent. So, yeah. At 3, the Dallas Mavericks are 11-6. Didn't see Dallas being this good. Shout out to Luka for balling out, still being an MVP candidate. Kyrie Irving has looked more and more comfortable throughout the year, finally averaging in the upper 20s. Not upper 20s, but 20-plus per game. What you expect from Kyrie Irving. At number 2, the Denver Nuggets are 13-6. A team I expected to be the best in the conference. The loss of Jamal Murray really impacts his team. Jokic, as of right now, is the MVP. He has been hitting that rebound and assist prop for me all year long. Anytime I take it in fantasy, it's always some ridiculous number, like 21.5, 22.5, 23.5, 24.5. And he's managing to get these numbers. He's having like 15 rebounds, 12 assist games. Just blows my mind from a talent standpoint. Jokic is the best player in the league, if you ask me. And he's a huge reason as to why they're 13-6. And at number 1 in the Western Conference remains the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are they the best defensive team in basketball right now? I don't know. Mike Conley looks really good for him this year. Anthony Edwards taking an MVP kind of jump this year. He's been real solid, number one option for the Timberwolves. He's not playing tonight, but he's looked really strong for him all year long. Karl Anthony Towns kind of had some ups and downs this past year. Gobert has had a very solid season for the defensive end for the Timberwolves, so we'll see if they can hold on to that number one ranking. But yeah, that's going to be a wrap for episode 21. Thank you to everyone who's been supporting up to this point. Continue to show love by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing with your friends and family. We've got a huge week of games lined up for the college football season. I can't wait to break down the results of these games and the soon-to-be-announced college football playoff season. In the next episode, I'll also emphasize coaching, hiring, and firings, notable players that hit the transfer portal, and much more. Until episode 22, I'm Justin Shute, and this was the Just in Time Podcast.